Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So here it is about work group and domain. What is a work group? Work group is simply a individual PCs are already in the work group only. I have a laptop, I am in the work group. I have a laptop, I am already in the work group. It is an individual PC. So here is my computer. I am in a work group means I am not depends upon any server or any centralized controlling system is not there. For example, I have to install an operating system. Sorry, I want to install an application. I can do it because myself, I am an administrator of this PC. I want to change settings. I want to create a policies. I am creating an account here. So that is belongs to me only. For example, my PC name is PCA. The PCA having user, for example, user 1. This user 1 information stores in this PC only. Okay, so I am the administrator of this PC. Next, I have multiple computers in the network. The same network, I have multiple computers. Each computer in a work group. So this is PCB, PCC, PCD. These are all in a network. Guys, this does not mean first topology. This meaning is the symbolic representation is all these 4 PCs are in the same network. Okay. For example, I'll take names from your batch only. For example, Nitesh, Adarsh, Chirag, Ria, like this. First, Ria is easy names. I will take Anand, Adarsh, like so. Again, I have to check it. The Adarsh. Chirag. Okay. Nitesh. Instead of user 1, user 2. So these are user names. These are the administrators of their respective PCs. If Nitesh want to log into PCB, he cannot log in. Why? So Nitesh user information not available in a PCB. Not available in a PCB. Or for example, Ria want to control PCC. Cannot control because of Ria don't have any access permission to the PCC. Okay, is not a Ria is an administrator for PCB, not administrator for remaining PCs. Okay, so this is the work group. So work group we also called as a decentralized administration. Work group is a decentralized administration, no centralized control. Every PC or a system has their own administrator. One PC user cannot log into other PCs. User passwords, their settings stores in their own PCs only. Okay. Each PC will be controlled. Okay. You can create a policies or control settings. We do individually, not centrally. Okay. In this case, the last point. Okay. If you have 10 computers, okay, I will give you one example. When we are in a class, what students will do. Okay, if girl is sitting in one computer, so what she will do it? She change the desktop environment. She change the desktop environment to like a puppies, flowers, and if boys are using a computer, they change the desktop environment like something Iron Man, or a Joker or any Ferrari car, like that they will put it. Okay, so what I want to do it, I want to enforce the settings. The user should not change the background settings, or I want to change the firewall setting. I want to create a firewall related policies. What I have to do it in a work group, I have to go to each and every PC and change the settings. Okay, I have to go to each and every PC and change the settings. Now what happened? Now what happened? Simply say what we can say. Each individual PC. My mind is again struck. Yeah, each and every PC have to go and change the settings. So what happened if it is a 10 computers? Okay. 20 computers, little burden, still okay. 30 computers, burden, right? So 100 computers, very difficult. 200 computers, very, very difficult. 1000 computers, if you forget about difficulty, you will die there. Okay. So if 1 or 2 computers or maybe a 10 computers, we can manage individually. If more computers, it's difficult to manage to go to each and every PC, putting a settings, creating policies, installing applications. Okay, this kind of stuff is very difficult. Okay, understand? So what I'm going to do is I'll put a centralized controller. I'm putting a centralized controller. That centralized part is also in my network. Okay, so this is a centralized PC, centralized administration. This is a server called as a domain controller. This is a server called as a domain controller. Now the PCs, those who are in my network, and these PCs, I will add them. Those PCs who are added to the domain, so those PCs called as a domain computers. Okay, for example, I add my PCA, A PC, B PC, C PC. I added it to the domain controller, and I created a users in domain controller only, like a user 1, user 2, user 3, user 4, user 5. Okay, like this, user 6, user 7, user 8, user 9, or user 10. It's my wish, like how many users I will create it, depends upon the domain controller and my wish. So I created a 10 users, and out of 4 PCs in my network, I added 3 PCs into domain controller. So where is the user information store? User information store in the domain controller. The PCs, the PCs information stores in the domain controller. So whenever this user, for example, user 1 want to log into PCA, so he put a user 1 and password, but user 1 information not in the PCA, not in PCB, not in PCC. User 1 information available in domain controller. So you have to verify user authentication, right? So it will send a request to domain controller. Please verify user 1 identity. Please verify user 1 identity. So domain controller verifies user 1 and its password. Yes, it is correct. So user 1 is authenticated. Then user 1 will ask domain controller, can I access this PCA? Yes, you can able to access PCA. Next, user 2 is trying to log into PCB. Okay, same thing. Request go to domain controller, verify the user 2 identity. authenticate user 2. User 3 is trying to log into PCC. Okay, and again same authentication will be done by domain controller. Means earlier each individual PC doing that authentication, now the centralized PC doing authentication, because user information stores in the domain controller only, not in the individual PCs. Okay, so because of that one, any user can log into any PC. For example, today is user 1, user 2, user 3 login here. Tomorrow, user 4 login here, or maybe next shift, user 4 login here, user 5 login here, user 1 is login here. Yeah, user 1 is login here. Of course, user 3 log out and user 1 is login here. So one day user 1 is login here, next day user 1 is login here. So it is not a like a no permanent linking. Okay, if you want to make it as a permanent, then you can do it. But thing is, whenever the user is login to the domain computer, user domain controller will authenticate that users. Any user can log into any of the PCs. Next, the user want to change any settings or policies or anything they want to change, they cannot change. If they want to install application, they want to uninstall any application, they cannot do it. We have a centralized administrator, the admin account will be there. Domain controller, domain admin is there. The domain admin account people only can able to change the settings in the client computers. Okay, domain admin accounts only can change the settings in the domain computers. Okay, this entirely I said a domain, right? So domain is nothing but a logical administrative boundary of users and computers and resources. It's a logical administrative boundary, means this is a like a users, computers and resources like a printers, scanners in the network, in the domain is listed under domain controller. If it is not listed, under domain controller, we cannot log into that computer, or we cannot control. For example, this is PCD. PCD is not listed here. PCD is not listed here. So you cannot log in. So like a user 5 want to log in here, he cannot log in. Why? Because of it's not belongs to my domain. So that's why it is logical administrative boundary. Even though all are in the same network, but the PCD is not belongs to my domain, so I cannot able to, my domain users cannot log into PCD. It can be a PCD, can be belongs to some different domain, or maybe belongs to Workgroup. Okay, so centralized administration. This is a first of all centralized administration. Centralized control is there. Centralized control. Users in the domain controller. So users, domain users can able to log into domain computers. User information and computer information stores in the domain controller. User, when user is log into the computer, okay, domain computer, domain controller authenticate the users. Domain controller authenticate the users. Okay, domain administrator account is a domain administrator's account, domain administrators is the administrator for all computers in the domain. All computers in the domain. Okay, so up to here, and there is a two different points I tell. Okay, as I said, I have a 10 computers, each computer I can go and change the settings. Like it can be a firewall setting, or it can be a desktop setting, it can be a local policies. I can do it. But if you have a large number of computers, for example, 100 computers, 200 computers, 500 computers, 1000 computers, large number of computers are there, it is very difficult to go to each individual PC to do the settings. Now what we will do it, I'll create a group policies. I will use some other color. Okay, I create a group policy in the server, and I apply this group policy to the respective client machines or a user base. For example, I have to change some firewall setting for all computers. So I create a group policy, I link the group policy and apply the policy. So this policy will go to each and every PC. This group policy is applied to each and every PC. Then as mentioned the setting in the group policy, it will be applied on the computers. It will be applied on the computers. For example, I want to deploy an application. I have an application. I have to install application in the all computers. 100 computers are there. All these 100 computers should get a application. So what I will do it, I'll create a group policy. I will give the information about application. Okay, and how to deploy kind of stuff, like application, where is the application is located and all. Okay, and I link those computers are there, and I will apply this policy. So all these 100 computers will install with this application. Guys, if you see on my desktop, I have a lot of data and as well as icons. An example, just for an example. Okay, for example, all these domain computers should not create any data or should not have any icons on their desktop. Like my policy is like that. What I will do it, I'll create a group policy. I will tell what setting should be applied, and I put this one in the domain controller. So then it is apply the policy to all the computers, So automatically, so all data, so the whenever user is trying to create a file or put a shortcut on the desktop, it won't accept. If I, for example, a policy is applied, I am trying to create a file here, and maybe I install some application, then icon is created. Then what it will do, it won't accept, so it won't create any data. You cannot able to create any data. You can't copy any data on it. So this is also a group policy. I have to do firewall setting for 100 computers or all computers or a group of computers. Simple, create a group policy, put the setting inside, tell us this is a setting, we have to enforce it. So what is the use of this domain controller now? We can easily maintain the high number of computers using this domain controller domain concept also. You have a 10 computers, you don't require domain controller. You have a 20 computers, you don't require domain controller. You have 50 computers, you may not require domain controller. But you have a large number of computers and you have to control them. That's we require a domain controller. Domain controller is a centralized machine. It is a server. It is a server which contains a database of domain computers, users, groups, and resources and services. Okay. Domain controller, in the domain controller is like Active Directory authenticate users when they log into the PCs. We create a group policies in domain controller. We enforce the group policy settings to the large number of users and computers. Okay, domain controller policies, domain controller related users not applicable on the outside of the domain computers. Okay, a computer is not in the domain, there is no effect on this one. Okay, that's the thing. Again, what is a domain? Domain is centralized administration. Centralized controller is called a domain controller, is nothing but a server. Domain administrator is an admin for all systems in the domain. Enforce various type of settings to large number of users and computers in the domain using a group policy. You can use a group policies to enforce various type of settings in the domain to the large number of users and computers. Okay. So in the domain controller, it stores the information about users, computers, groups, their services, resource information. So this domain controller having a database, Active Directory database. So the database name is NTDS.DIT. A domain user can log into any domain computer. Okay. This is a explanation about a work group, guys. So here I have taken 5 PCs. Each PC having a user, Akash, Kirti, Deepak, Mansi, Arvaj, like that. Okay. So Akash is the administrator of PC1, Kirti is the administrator of PC2, Deepak is the administrator of PC3, like that. So Akash can able to install an applications, can change the permissions, can give the permission kind of stuff. And Akash can manage PC1 but not manage PC2. So PC2 can be managed by PC Kirti, but not Kirti cannot manage other PCs. Okay, that's words I've written for explanation, which is already given. This is a domain controller domain. So each domain having a name, domain name is there. Each and every domain has its own domain name. In this one, I put a contoso.com is a domain name. What is a domain? It is a logical administrative boundary of your users, groups, computers, kind of stuff. Okay. So here it is my domain controller, which is nothing but my server, which is installed with Active Directory. So then we got Active Directory database. In the database, I have information about my domain computers. Okay, I have information about domain computers. Okay, and I created a users in the domain controller. So those users can able to log into my domain computers like a C1, C2, C3, C5, C1, C2, C3, C4, C5 computers are my domain computers. So my domain users, user 1, user 2, user 3, user 4, like that, can able to log into any domain, any computer. But these users cannot log into C6. Why? Because of C6 is not in the domain. And these users can able to access my printer P1 because it's in the domain, and also we have a permissions from domain. Again, whenever the user is log into the computer, so then domain controller authenticate the user. How it is possible? Because of user information is in the domain controller, not in the local computer. So user information, username, password stored in domain controller. The computers will join into the domain called a domain computers. Users in the domain is called a domain users. Domain users can log into any domain computers. Domain admin account means there is a domain administrators group is there. If any user is belongs to that administrator account, or an administrator of domain is a domain for all devices. Sorry. Domain controller, domain administrators is administrator for all devices in the domain. It can be a printer, it can be a computer, is a administrator. Any changes required, any settings changes, can be done by domain administrator only, not individual computer users. Okay. So this is a, short screenshot from my PC. There's a little problem is there. Why? Because of my PC is a Windows 10 Home Edition. Windows 10 Home Edition or any Home Edition computers cannot join into the domain. Basically, to check the system configuration, we go to this, right? Settings, system, about. In the same screen only, in this side, you can see the rename this PC. You can see the rename this PC part. Okay. This rename this PC. If you go to rename this PC, it shows this system properties, this part, system properties. You can see workgroup name is workgroup. I am in the workgroup. You can see a computer full name, okay, and a workgroup. If you go to change, then computer name / domain changes, it is showing here. You want to change the computer name, you can change the computer name from here. Okay. Next, member of. You can see the bottom, member of. What is a member of? I am a member of workgroup. Name is workgroup. Workgroup name can be changeable. You can change the workgroup name, depends upon, like I have a 50 computers. In that one, 10 computers, I want to put some different workgroup. I can put it. Okay, that is also possible. For example, you have 100 computers are there. Out of that one, 10 computers, you put it in some workgroup name called VG1, WG1. Workgroup name is workgroup 1. Okay, like WG1. These 10 computers belongs to a workgroup called this workgroup. Same, but all workgroup properties same. But what is the advantage of changing workgroup name or keep this only 10 computers into a single workgroup? Means the resources sharing. The sharing is more easy. You share to the same workgroup. But that concept is very old concept it is. So later from Windows 7, we got a home group concept. Home group concept. Workgroup is different. Domain is different. Home group is completely different from there. Okay. But home group is also used for a sharing group. Okay. Workgroup grouping the computers into a same workgroup for a easy to share data within that workgroup, easy to share the printers within that workgroup. Okay, like this. So public sharing, okay, public shared folders within the workgroup is there, but there is no centralized administration. Even though you join into the some different workgroup, meaning is you are simply changing your workgroup name. It does not mean there is a centralized control. There is no centralized control in the workgroups. So that concept is over. Now we got a home group. Means I have a PC, it creates a one home group. Other PCs will join into this home group. Home group is again logical namespace only. PCs in the home group, so they can share the data directly. They can share the printers. They can share the data easily and directly. So no other in the network cannot access that data. This is very simple. No need to do any more authentication kind of stuff. User permissions and all not required. Once you are joining the work group, it is direct. Each their profile data and shared data directly you can access. Okay, easy to access. That is the concept of home group. That is very serious, important in a Windows 7 and Windows 8 time. But now that is also neutralized. Not people asking, not asking. Okay. But concept is here, work group or a domain, guys. Member of work group means you are belongs to a work group. If you change the option from work group to domain, you change the option from work group to domain, means you have to tell the domain name. Okay. For example, there is a C1 PC. So in the C1 PC, we'll go to the work group. We go to the rename this PC. In C1 PC, we'll go to rename this PC, and we can see system properties, computer name, work group name is work group, and go to change. In the change, so go to member of, click on a domain, and there is a space, and type the domain name. Type the domain name. Once you type the domain name, click OK, and it is asked for authentication. So give the domain controller administrator name and password, and it will join into the domain. Very simple. You want to become a member of domain, click domain and give the domain name, click OK. It asks for authentication, give the details, click OK. Then you will become a member of domain. Of course, your client PC asks for restart the client PC. Okay. So once you are restarted, now you are a member of a domain. You are a member of a domain. So once your client PC become a member of a domain, so all domain policies, user access, everything is possible. Okay. So when we are going to join into the domain, that is depends upon the organization. Normally, I'm sitting in my home. I have my own laptop. I don't require any domain here. If I'm in an organization, so that is organization policies, organization user access. Okay. And most of the organization are based on a shift wise routing is there. Shift, right? Morning shift, evening shift, night shift. So computer, one single computer used by multiple users in that time. So better to join into the domain. Okay. If one computer is down, for example, user 6 and user 9 using C4 computer. Now that a work group PC, it is, for example, it is a work group PC. C4 is down. Okay. User 9 is came to the shift. C4 is down. What it will do? And there is some C5 PCs free. You go and sit in a C5 PC, start login. Go to C5 PC, you can start login and start doing work. Okay, very simple, right? So no need to wait to the C4 PC come online again. So you simply go to any available PC and start login. Okay, so that is a point here. Okay, so in those cases, in organizations only, they will put a money on the domain controllers, like installing a physical server, install a server operating system, make it as a domain controller, purchase the domain name, okay, and maintaining domain controller because of large number of users in the organizations. In individually, we don't have that many large computers, right? We have 1 or 2 computers. So we don't require individually domain, but as an organizations, they are belongs to a domain kind of stuff, then you can member of a domain in that one. So client, once they join into the domain, all domain properties will be applicable, like a group policies and all. This is the difference between work group and domain, guys. It is a most very common interview question. Domain and work group, peer-to-peer, server client, domain and work group. These three are a most common interview question.
So what is peer-to-peer?
Peer-to-peer is like a work group PCs only, means you have a 2 PCs are connected in the network. So they will communicate each other, they'll share information, but there is no centralized administration, centralized control, centralized access is not there. Okay.
Is an individual access.
Individual access, like I have a computer, 2 computers are there, one computer have a data. I want to access that data. So both are communicating each other, are sharing the information, sharing the data, sharing printers. It's a peer-to-peer only, but not a permanent server kind of stuff. Like I have a server, like a web server is there, or a print server is there. It is a server. It provides a service to multiple client pieces. In peer-to-peer, it is one-to-one communication only. But in a server and client, you want to many communication. Server and client, one server, multiple clients. Okay. And peer-to-peer is like a work group type only. In individual computers, no centralized administration. Okay. No centralized control. Each user, the users in the domain controller, user in the work group, PCs are owner administrator of that PCs. Like every PC has their own administrator. A PC user cannot log into another PC. User information, password information, their settings stores in their own PC only. Can manage individually, but cannot manage centrally. Number of PCs are increases. We cannot control work group PCs. We can't control the work group PCs. Like we cannot put the settings, or by changing settings or putting the settings. What are the word you use? Like individually managing is very difficult. Individual managing the devices very difficult in the work group if more number of PCs are there. And we'll come to the domain. It is a centralized administration. We have a centralized controller called a domain controller, which is nothing but a server. Okay, this server having a information about users, groups, computers in their database. That is a Active Directory database. Okay, computers, those who join into the domain, is called a domain computer. So users in the domain controller can log into any of these domain computers. We can enforce various type of settings to the large number of user wise or a computer wise to the in the domain. Okay, in the domain. So that is called a group policy. What is a group policy? Is enforcing various type of settings to the large number of users and computers. So that is, so we can control centrally. We can control centrally possible. More number of devices increases. You want to enforce certain settings. No need to go to individual PCs. We can simply create a group policy and apply the group policy. So all the computers or users will affect with the policy. Get the setting. Okay. And to join into the domain, so you have a computer in the network. So you want to join into the domain, very simple. Go to this system properties. You are already in a work group. Go to the change button, then you can see member of domain or a work group. You want to join into the domain, select the domain, give the domain name of like what domain name it is. Okay, so give the domain name and click OK, authenticate, restart your computer. Now you are belongs to domain. You are now you become a domain computer. Okay, that's the point. Very big one, guys. It is what is work group, what is domain, what is the difference between work group and domain is also important. What is the difference between work group and domain? Work group and domain both are like a work group is a decentralized, domain is centralized administration. Work group, each individual users are each individual PC having their own administrator. Okay, and in a domain we have a centralized administrator. In domain we have a centralized administrator. In a work group, so I didn't put that one, guys, because when you read it once, try to practice without putting in front of. In childhood days we do a lot of better way. Up to 10th class, the world way education is very better. Like by hearting. Lot of people said by hearting is wrong, right? No. By hearting is almost sometimes it is correct. Okay. If you keep by hearting, then also it will memorize. We can able to remember and later we can use that one. Okay, so I'm not talking about by adding, but understanding is important first of all, but people will skip the things I'm not understanding, so then I don't read it. So that is not good at all. Okay, so in a olden days method is that to up to 10th class method is correct. 10th work after intermediate it is a free way, and engineering is a worst way. No education at all. It's all in one copy paste kind of stuff only. But in a olden days it's education. Now it is smart methods. Like you can think, you can act, you can read kind of stuff, but outcome become zero. Okay. So that is different point. Okay. So what are the point left over? So work group and in a domain. So then a work group, if you have a 10 computers, okay, you have to go to each and every computer to do the settings, policies, okay, and controlling individually. But in a domain, centralized control, so once we create a policy in the domain controller, it is applicable to all the computers and users in the domain. So that is a group policy. Okay. In work group, one computer user cannot able to control or log into another computer. In a domain, so the users are in the domain controller, so user is authenticated by centralized system, and the user can able to log into any of the domain computer. Okay, so those points are important. So now here it is active directory domain. It is a domain only, guys, not active directory. Domain or domain, no difference. But why I said why I written AD domain. Of course, here also it is AD domain. Here it is AD domain. So why I put a AD domain? Some people are very smart people. Sometimes that is very dangerous. Okay. When I ask a question, already I once I told what is domain. Then I ask a question to the people like what is domain? I ask a question, what is domain? Instead of telling the definition or a relevant information, they search in a Google like what is domain, and they read this kind. The area of territory owned or controlled by particular ruler or a government. In computing, a distinct subset of internet with a address sharing a common suffix are under the control of particular organization or individual. Domain name is a string that identify realm of administrative autonomy, authority, or control within the internet. Okay, nothing is connected to what I said earlier, right? Nothing is connected. Okay, that's why I said AD domain. So when you are searching in the internet, some people are already smart, but not that smart. It is active directory domain. This will give exactly what the definition we wanted, or at least some nearby. At least nearby, some part of meaning it will be cover. Some part of meaning, at least it will cover. So it is a logical group of objects share common administration, security, something it is there. But not exactly, guys. So sometimes Google is answer is good, sometimes not. So whenever you're reading from the Google, so that is a second option. First of all, read original material what we are sharing. Search in a Google, read it. You can also search in Google. I'm not talking like don't search in a Google. I'm talking if you search in a Google, read it once. Try to understand it is a completely relevant or completely irrelevant. Okay, completely irrelevant. One class, one guy asked me, so I showed servers and all in a picture wise, like a processors. Directly I showed in a like so CPU. Okay, to show a CPU like I showing in a like this different type of CPUs I have shown in the classroom. The guy is asking, sir, you are showing in a Google, so Google is we should not tell in a Google like. Of course, you should not tell a Google answers. You have to tell a proper answer. Proper answer can be from Google or not from the Google. Okay. So for understanding and learning, Google is helpful, but don't follow anything blindly. That is the point I'm trying to say. Don't follow anything blindly. As I said, I asked one mock interview. Okay, so what is domain? The guy immediately type in Google, is reading from the Google answer. He never read earlier. He never read that earlier. He never understand what it is. He's just reading on time. That is not good practice. That is not a good practice, guys. Read it, understand it, make sure it is relevant, what it is, like kind of stuff. Because Google not think anything, so it is display the information based on the data in the different websites. Okay, Google display the data. Google don't have any data. Only Google displays data from different websites. Okay, so by analyzing the Google search algorithm, so that it's analyze what possibility of the user is asking, based on that it is showing. You don't understand what it is you are asking, it is only thing what you are may think of user requirement. That's it only. Okay, yeah, that is enough. So what is Active Directory domain, or what is a domain? A logical administrative boundary of users and computers. See, that's a logical administrative boundary. See, C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, C6 and server A are in a same network, including printer P1 also in the same network. But C1, C2, C3, C4 all belongs to domain, but C6 is not belongs to the domain. So that's why it is physically same network, logical addressing also same, means IP address wise also it may be a same network, but in a domain wise it is a different one. So C6 is different piece. Different C6 is not belongs to domain. That's why it is a logical administrative boundary. So administrative boundary, domain controller can administrate C1, C2, C3, C4, C5 and P1 only. Cannot administrate C6. That's why it is logical administrative boundary of users and computers. This Active Directory, what is an Active Directory? Active Directory database store identity of users, computers, groups, services, resources and resources information. What is Active Directory database? It's a database contains user information, computer information, group informations, service related information, resources information in the database. Active Directory also do authentication. As Active Directory also do, it store the data and authenticate the users and computers when they log into the domain. Or when our user is log into a domain computer, domain controller authenticates the user. Meaning is Active Directory. So if you install Active Directory and the server become domain controller, you have a server, you install Active Directory inside, then it become domain controller. So when you install a Active Directory, first it creates a database. The name of database is NTDS.DIT. New Technology Directory Service Directory Information Tree. Okay, this is the database name. In this database, so we have a domain users, computers, groups, services and resources information stored in this database only. So when our user is log into the domain computer, or whenever the user is try to access the resources in the domain, so domain Active Directory authenticate users. Both it will do authentication and authorization. Guys, authentication Authentication meaning is verification of identity like a username and password. Authorization means once user is authenticated, you are giving a permission to access, giving access permission or denying access permissions. Okay, you are allow access, like I want to access printer. This user is allowed to access, yes, then take the print. I am asking, I want to access the printer and it will verify my username or a group name. Yes, this user is not allowed to access the printer, deny. It won't allow access the printer. Okay, so Active Directory also do authentication and authorization. So authentication means it is verification of identity, like a verification of username and password. So then it is authenticate the user. Authorization will decide whether the user is yellow or not yellow. Okay, it use a authentication protocol called like Kerberos and LDAP protocols. When you search in Google about Active Directory, it's nothing is there. Okay, when you are searching for a Active Directory part, sometimes it will shows it is a Microsoft service. Yes guys, Active Directory concept is only in the Microsoft Windows servers only, and this Active Directory service, Active Directory name is introduced in a Windows Server 2000. Later this name is changed as a Active Directory Domain Services in 2008. Means in 2000 and 2003 we use Active Directory name. Later it is become Active Directory Domain Services. Active Directory Domain Services from 2008 onwards. Okay, this is Windows Server 2000. Before that one we have a Windows NT server is there. That time Active Directory concept is not there. The database name is SAM database. SAM database stores. Okay, so in NT servers we have a domain concept but not Active Directory concept. Active Directory is not there. There is use SAM database. Means it store the user and computer information in this SAM database. And authentication protocol we are using Kerberos authentication protocol. Active Directory use Kerberos authentication protocol. But in a SAM database means that time we use NTLM authentication. This is not at all required guys, but just for a fun or sometimes people ask questions. So what about why it is 2000 kind of stuff? Means earlier we use different database and different type of authentication, and no FQDN type means domain name forest concepts not there. Okay, so now it is there. Guys, this is about your very simple way to know the Active Directory. So what is Active Directory domain? A logical administrative what is the domain? A logical administrative boundary of users and computers. Active Directory. What is an Active Directory? Active Directory database stores identity of users, groups, computers in computers, and Active Directory authenticates users when they log into domain. Very simple. Okay, I'm telling question and answer directly. What is domain? A logical administrative boundary of users and computers. What is an Active Directory? Active Directory database stores identity of users, groups, and computers, services, and resource information, or at least tell two or three things. Active Directory database stores users, computers, and groups. That is also enough. You may not spell completely, so no problem. And Active Directory authenticates users when they log into the domain computer, or it authenticates users and computers when they log into the domain or a network. So different ways to tell in a different ways, but it authenticates users when they log into domain computer. These two statements important. Next one is, of course, Active Directory is a Microsoft service. Active Directory is a Microsoft service since 2000, since Windows Server 2000, since Windows Server 2000. This Active Directory is a Microsoft service since Server 2000. Active Directory database name NTDS.DIT. Active Directory use authentication protocols called Kerberos and LDAP. That's it about Active Directory. This simple question, simple answer. Okay, so up to here. The next part, small part I want to add to the Active Directory, guys. For Active Directory means the domain controller, meaning is it is a server, right? By installing Active Directory into the server become domain controller. So of course it is a server means it's a physical machine. It is a physical machine means there is a problems with the physical machines. Okay, it is a physical machine, there is a problems in the physical machine. It can be down, right? A physical machine can be get a problem. You have to maintain the physical machine. You have to maintain a domain controller. The administrator means like a server manager. You need a server engineer. A person is required to manage the domain controller. Server engineer is required. Network connectivity, network supply is required. Router switches are required. If your client PCs are out of your network or out of your local network, means you need a public connection and you have to purchase a public domain name, public IP address, legal lines, and one server maybe get any time it can be down. So we need a multiple servers. We need a multiple servers. If one server is down, no problem, other server will give you a service. So we have a domain controller and we need a additional domain controllers also. The cost for a on users it is high. For example, you have a very big organizations, so they can maintain multiple servers, they can purchase legal lines and physical security. They can provide a physical security to the server and network security to the server using firewalls and all, right? So they can easily manage on-premises server. For example, I have a small organization, only 100 computers. I cannot maintain these servers, server engineers, internet security, firewall securities, or physical securities, power supply management, multiple server installations, multiple servers installations, physical hardware, operating system cost. I cannot bear because my organization is small organization. My cost of investment is very less. I can't maintain this entire physical infrastructure. What is the solution, guys? Understand point? I can't maintain the physical infrastructure. I can't maintain all the servers, networking components, firewalls, physical security, network security, power supplies, physical space. I can't maintain. What is the solution for that one? Anybody having any idea? What is the solution? Any point, no problem. Tell me something, no problem. In my class, there is no wrong or right answers. No, there is no wrong or right questions also. Got the question? Yeah, this is a good diagram, but I want to remove it. Guys, understand? I want to make. I have a server, so I purchase a physical server. I install server operating system. Means physical server hardware cost, server operating system cost, and even if you are install some application here, that application cost. and this server can be down anytime. So what I will do it, I require to put a more servers inside, like more servers I am putting here. Okay. Next, I have to maintain the network like a switches, routers. Okay. Switches, routers, right? Firewalls. One more is important, a firewall. So what is the firewall, guys? It will protect from network. So it protect your network from the attacks, network attacks, right? Firewalls. In generally, to connect internet, we need a modem, right? To connect the internet, we need a modem. And the modem is, once it is connected to internet, it connected to the firewall. Once firewall filter the traffic, then it will give it to the router. And the router distribute the network through the switches, through the switches. Okay. And switches is connected to the rest of the devices. So what is the use of this firewall in organizations to protect the network from attacks? Okay, so we need to manage the firewalls. Storage devices. You may require a storage devices. Okay, like a database, data storing devices are required. Switches required, firewalls required, connectivity, fiber optical cables are required. This is entirely my infrastructure. I don't want to allow any person to inside of this one. Only authenticated people should be go. Not everyone cannot go. Only few people can go. Means I need a physical security, CC cameras, and this should be work properly. Means firewall, power supply must be good, AC must be good. Okay, proper AC, ventilation, temperature. Okay, power supply, backup power supply. Okay, so these are all I have to maintain. So for my organization, this total maintenance cost is very high. Total cost of the equipment, the maintenance cost, and people cost, because of for network I need a network engineer. For protecting my infrastructure from network attacks, I need a cyber security person. Okay, cyber security or a security engineer is required. To maintain the servers, I need a server engineer, backup engineer, and a storage engineer, right? These are all people are required to manage it. Facility management. The cost on my organization is high. Then what is the solution for this one? What is the nowadays solutions? Earlier compulsory, now it is not required. Based on your organization and your requirement. What is the solution? Any answer, guys? You know answer, but you are not talking. Am I disconnected? What?
No, sir, you are audible.
Very good, very good. Any answer? The answer is on on the screen also. Answer is okay.
Cloud.
Cloud. Very good. Answer is cloud. Okay. What is the use of the cloud? So you no need to maintain on premises infrastructure. So as per your organization requirement, you can contact any cloud service provider, either AWS or Azure or Digital Oceans or Oracle Cloud Services. Okay, Rackspace. Very. So any IBM Cloud is also there. Okay, so any cloud services you can contact. And what is your requirement? I want to install a server. So means, yeah, tell me.
Sir, I want to know that what is the difference between basically in a like data warehouse or a cloud?
Data warehouse and cloud. Okay, good. Yes, data warehouse is a concept of um storing a data in the tabular form, that is a database, and a separation of database into the different categories using certain data warehousing applications,
Sir, someone
loading,
is coding.
extracting, like a ETL, extract, 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 transfer, load, or something is there now. So it is like extracting the data and transfer the data into different places. That is a data warehousing. Cloud concept is in the cloud, data warehousing concept is there. Okay, in the cloud services. For example, you take a Azure. Azure is a cloud service. Okay, so then I will put it, Azure is providing cloud services. What are the cloud services providing from the Azure? Like a virtual machines, database services, storage services, and data warehousing tools like a Power BI. Power BI. Okay. So I will go to databases. This is databases like a SQL database services, MySQL database services, SQL Server and virtual machines, MariaDB, Cosmos DB is a NoSQL database. But there is a data warehousing part is not showing here. As I know, it is Power BI should be included here. It is not showing. Developer tools, integration, media migration. Okay, not showing directly. Maybe I have to, yeah, analytics. Yeah, this is Azure Databricks, Synopsys. Okay, Pure View. These are all comes under again analysis the data using Apache SpyPark kind of stuff. Similarly, I go to AWS. AWS is also cloud services. For example, I want to set up, so no, not a sign up services, just console. Okay. In this one, it is still loading. Again, go to databases, Aurora, DynamoDB, and RDS services are belongs to um, database services, but Redshift is data warehousing services. What is Redshift? Fast, easy, most widely used data warehousing services. So what is the data warehousing? It is usually like for analysis the data, it extract the data from different databases, it load the databases and analysis and shows. Okay, like a data, what we can say, showing on screen type.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so it is one of the service, and data warehousing we can maintain in individual servers. Same thing, same concept. I have a database server, Oracle database server, and data warehousing server. Data warehousing server. Last time I installed for 5 years back, 6 years back. That is OBIE. This is also a data warehousing application. Oracle database application. This is OBIE. Oracle Business Intelligence Enterprise. BI tools like a business intelligence, MSBI, Power BI, like that. ODI, Oracle data integration, something is there. Okay. This is also like Informatica. So you can install into the individual servers, and you can access these servers from your PC, and you can do it. On premises, you can manage. You're asking good question also. I'm relating to this point. Okay. So you want a data warehousing requirement. So what you do, you purchase a server, you install operating system, you install a application data warehousing application, and you connect it to the databases, different databases, and extract those databases and analysis database using different analysis tools like OBAE tools or ODA tools, Tableau tools, Informatica, MicroStrategy, I think so, the name, I forget. Okay. So using the tools, we'll analyze the data, right? But you have to maintain the server. Your organization cannot maintain the physical infrastructure. Again, the solution is what you will do. We'll go to the cloud. We'll put all the information into that cloud and use the cloud provided analysis tools like example Redshift, Glue, and where is the Glue? Glue. Glue is a new one. Redshift, Glue. Glue is also like a ETL type. Okay, serverless data integration, simple, scalable, and serverless data integration. It is also comes with a free tier. Okay, so this is also very new one. Okay, or a Azure or Oracle. You can go to Oracle also directly. You cannot maintain the Oracle products like you need a Oracle database server, but you cannot manage the server. You want a Oracle uh, warehousing tools like a OBAE kind of stuff. You can't maintain. So what you will do? We'll go to I'm in India. Okay. So you can see cloud infrastructure, Oracle cloud infrastructure. You can see analysis and BI tools. Okay, business intelligence tools. So you can directly take these services from cloud. So what are the products? Kind of stuff. Yeah, that is enough, right? Okay. So the point is, if you are unable to maintain your physical infrastructure, or you are planning some requirement that it's a big challenge to maintain your infrastructure. Okay, so what we will do it, we'll move to the cloud. We'll move to the cloud. So which cloud is suitable, which cloud is providing your required services, either it is Azure or AWS or Oracle or IBM or Rackspace or Google. Okay, which cloud is providing your suitable services. What is the advantage of using cloud? I'm not moving to the cloud, guys, but it is also cover the cloud part. Okay, but compulsory check the cloud video also. Okay, but I'm trying to explain what is cloud here. What is the cloud again? Cloud is provide a service through internet. What service it is? It is a virtual machine service or database service, or maybe it can be a storage service. It can be an application service through the network. Very simply, you can say. Okay. So one of the service is Azure Active Directory. I'm not going out of the subject, guys. I mean this one only. That's why I keep like this. Okay. Azure also providing Active Directory service. In case in your premises you are unable to install a domain controller like a physical server, server operating system, configuring domain controller, managing domain controller, and the network connectivity, storage, and physical infrastructure, physical access control, or physical security, network security, public IP addresses, domain names. Okay. leased lines, this kind of stuff you are unable to maintain. What you will do? Very simple. Go to Azure, take the Azure AD services. In the Azure, go for a AD services, Active Directory services. Simple. Go to Azure, login, and create a domain there. Simply put the domain name, check the domain name availability. Okay, and they will give you a domain means a form to create a users. Like you want to create a users, then type username, and you will get a user IDs automatically. Passwords, give the username, passwords, and give the settings. You have 100 users, type the all the 100 users information. So you no need to install a server, no need to purchase the server hardware, no need to purchase the server operating system, no need to install it, no need to configure it also. Okay, simply you go to Azure, login, and start creating user accounts, and also join in the client. So go to the client. So then join into the domain. Join into the domain. Automatically, your client means your domain computer information is stored in your domain. Domain computers information store in a domain controller, right? Here it is in Azure AD, that information is stored. Another advantage of this Azure AD is a user can be log into the computer from anywhere using a simple internet. Okay, I'm here, I have an internet connection. So simply using internet, I can log in from anywhere. So I don't need to log into my physical environment. I need to go to office to log in, because in a physical environment, my server is in my physical space. Okay, so I have to go to my office, then only I can able to log in, because authentication by domain controller. Now it is my domain controller is in cloud. I can get login from anywhere. Okay guys, what is the Azure AD? Azure is a Microsoft public cloud services. Azure AD is Active Directory service from Azure cloud. Okay, that's the point I'm trying to say. That's why I told about a cloud. So not to confuse you guys, so just to make this point. But important is understand the advantage of cloud is, so in a cloud using, so you no need to maintain any physical servers, no need to purchase any physical servers, no need to purchase a physical operating system. Okay, so no need to purchase an operating system, no need to purchase physical servers, no need to maintain your physical infrastructure, like a server based infrastructure, storages, network, firewalls, okay, and physical security, network security, power supplies, environment management. You don't need to do anything. Very simply log into the cloud portal, and what service you want it, you can take it and use it. But only one thing is, cloud is a pay as you go service. Cloud is not free service, guys. Cloud is pay as you go. If how much you are utilizing, that much you have to pay. Okay, how much you are using, that much you have to pay. For example, I create 100 users in my Azure AD. I have to pay for 100 users. Per user amount I have to pay. Per user amount I have to pay. Understand? Per user amount I have to pay. Okay, compulsory check once. If you don't understand, guys, ask me, then I will explain again about Office 365. There also explained about a business account and home account kind of stuff. So there you will see number of users. In business account, you can see per user cost. Cloud is a pay as you go type. Cloud is a pay as you go type. Okay. Next, how much you are utilizing, like 100 users I created, for 100 per user I have to pay. I created for 200 users, then I have to pay for 200 users. Now I realize I have only 50 users, Okay, I removed 150 users and I keep only 50 users. Then I have to pay for 50 users only. Then I have to pay for a 50 users only. Pay as you go type. For example, I need a database server. I need a database space. So total my utilization is, for example, 50 GB. So I have to pay for a 50 GB usage and service. Only I have to pay. I don't have to pay for any other services, which is I'm not using. I want to use storage services. I use a storage service, or maybe I use some glue service, or maybe I use some analysis related services. So how much I utilize, that much I have to pay. If I'm not using, or if I'm no longer using, no need to pay. So that is very simple understanding of cloud. Okay. So I hope you got the small introduction to the cloud also. Guys, this is very important, but today I spend most of the time on this part only, but two more important things are there. One is a DHCP, another one is a DNS. So compulsory go to what is peer-to-peer, server and client, what is a data center. Okay, so you can search in Google also, no problem. Okay, search in about what is data center, what is data center monitoring, and what is workgroup and domain, what is domain, what is Active Directory domain, what is Active Directory, what is Azure AD also. Okay, what is authentication and authorization also. So next part is a DHCP and DNS. Two parts are there. Okay, so we will discuss tomorrow about DHCP, DNS, and any other things you required, like servers related, server services like a VPN server, proxy server. Check the questions, guys. Already I forward a notepad file. Check the questions. Find out any server related questions or networking related questions. Please check it. Anything is not covered, please tell me. Tomorrow we'll discuss. So tomorrow is tomorrow we'll discuss. Day after tomorrow I will take the different topic. So tomorrow I'll complete DHCP and DNS and check all the any server and networking related questions. So we'll discuss that time. So we'll cover that easily. Day after tomorrow I will go in with the basics of hardware and operating system. Good
Okay, sir.
processing. Okay, that is because that is also important. So we'll see. And also compulsory go through these videos, work group and domain. You can skip some part. Also there is a practical is there, guys. In this video, a lot of people are not showing interested. Even I told multiple times, but it contains practically how server client is there, which is I showed in a practical way. It's almost like a 1 year back. Okay. And this is recently I have taken about Office 365. It covers the cloud related information and Office also, Outlook. If you don't understand any point, you can ask me or you can put it in a group, or you can ask me in any uh, class time. Okay, not separately, in a classroom also you can ask. Okay, that's it for today.